future? And how can we have what Ben Swan is speaking about, and what I regularly champion on my program, without a debt-free future? We are on an existential collision course with our deficit. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to have in the house Jane Beth Barton. Please give her a big round of applause.
Just 6 years ago today, many of you participated in one of over 850 tax day tea parties around the country. Let's take a few minutes and reflect on how far our movement has come in the last 6 years. I don't know if any of us could have envisioned this 6 years ago today. Liberty-loving Americans all over our great republic gathered in cities and towns just like this one. A lot of us weren't sure exactly what we were doing. We just knew that we were upset in the out-of-control spending in Washington, D.C. Who here remembers where they were when Rick Santelli had that rant on CNBC and you heard it for the first time? Who remembers his words as he said, "Stop the spending, Mr. President," and he encouraged us to have tea parties just like our founding fathers did? Really, looking back on it, it seems strange that a movement would have started with a rant from someone on a mainstream media news. Yet that's exactly what happened. Because Mr. Santelli got our attention and he spurred us to action. The stimulus was really only the first in a long line of Obama outrages. Remember all those non-existent shovel-ready jobs that Obama joked about? It really was a joke, and it was a bad joke, at our expense. And as it turned out, it was just one in a long line of offenses that spent too much of our hard-earned tax dollars. It took a man like Barack Obama and his radical, leftist, anti-American agenda to give rise to the Tea Party movement. And actually, as we look back on it, we realize we couldn't have done it without you, Mr. President. So I guess we owe you a little bit of thanks. You wound up uniting us, and he energized us, and lo and behold, in 2010, in the midterm elections, we made history with a larger majority in the United States House than the Republican Revolution did in the 90s. And sure enough, John Boehner went from being the minority leader to the Speaker of the House because of us and our values. That was back in 2010. When President Obama finally took notice of us. And he was not pleased. Wait, maybe I've misspoken. Maybe it was just a few rogue agents at the Cincinnati IRS office who were displeased with us. Sometimes I get those confused. But really, it was the president who was upset with our outspoken voices and what was happening as the momentum led to the 2010 elections. He took it as a personal affront. American people speaking out was an affront to our president. He turned the most punitive government agency at his disposal to avenge his anger. His handpicked goon, Lois Lerner, embarked on an unprecedented campaign of retaliation against her fellow citizens. She referred to us as crazies, and she called us several other names that I won't repeat here tonight. Suffice to say that she, the president, and the entire Democrat machine hold us in contempt, and they view us as a mortal danger to their agenda. She abused her office and she trampled on our Constitution, just to teach us what she considered to be an important important lesson. That lesson was to her that this president shall not be challenged or otherwise offended. And since Ms. Lerner thought it was appropriate to throw a few civil servants from Cincinnati under the bus, this seems an appropriate place to have a few words for Lois Lerner. Lois Lerner, you belong in prison for what you did. Legitimate law enforcement official and not a partisan hack, Lois Lerner, you would have been perp-walked in an orange jumpsuit long ago. If there's still any semblance of justice in this country we love so much, one day, Lois Lerner, you will be held accountable. You should be ashamed of yourself, but you have no shame. Still, we have hope, and we have reason to be hopeful. There's one thing we've learned in the last 6 years, and that's that we're in a marathon. We're not in a sprint. Results don't come nearly as fast as we'd like, but that doesn't deter us. In fact, that's part of why we love our country so much. The system takes a while to change. And we're not going away. We're going to keep demanding accountability. It may not be this month or this year, but the IRS and Lois Lerner will be held account. So thank you for doing that. Make sure that you go and show up at your state capitol and lobby for photo IDs at the polling places. Ballot integrity. You have the opportunity to make that happen. Now, along the lines of the IRS, has anyone here dared to dream of an America without the IRS? Shallow grave. Here lies the agency that forgot it works for the American people. Who's next? It won't happen quickly, but if we're patient and we're determined, we will win. Victory look like? Maybe one day our grandchildren will be asking us, hey, Grandma, what was the IRS? And maybe at about that same time, we'll see on the news that Lois Lerner was denied yet another parole request. Now, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I'm a happy warrior, and sometimes being a happy warrior for the conservative cause is tough. It's often very lonely. We Patriots do have a handful of friends, and it's important for us to remember that we do not stand alone. There are men and women in Congress who we can count on, and today I feel compelled to thank some of these people. Over the past few weeks, Tea Party Patriots around the country have been sending handwritten thank you notes, making calls into Congress, and posting on our social media, and also writing letters to the editor, giving our gratitude and our thanks to those who stand up and champion our cause on Capitol Hill. It's important for us to make the time to do that. Often you may feel alone. Now imagine if you're on Capitol Hill and you're one of only 10 or 20 who are voting no on a bill. They need to know we appreciate them. And since we're in Ohio, and probably even if I were not in Ohio, I would start with thanking Congressman Jim Jordan. There's also Thomas Massey, who I know is maybe some you've heard of and others you may not have heard of. Congressman Mark Meadows from North Carolina is a huge champion for our cause. Senator Mike Lee from Utah. He has a new book out called Our Lost Constitution, and Matt Kibbe, who's speaking in just a little while, and I are going to be hosting a book signing event for Mike Lee in a few weeks. Make sure you do get a copy of that book. There's also Louis Gilbert and Steve King. But rest assured, they have our backs and they have our profound thanks. And if you haven't taken the time to thank them lately, please do that this week. On our anniversary, the 6th anniversary of the Tax Day Tea Party events, it's an appropriate time to thank them and let them know they're not alone. You know, it's easy to get discouraged fighting for freedom. But I look around me today with a happy heart. We've come so far. We're here and we're not going away anytime soon. And if you're not a part of Tea Party Patriots mailing list and the email list and our text message list, you can text message us right now. Text Liberty to 313131. Seriously, get your phone out. Text Liberty to 313131. Now the media may ridicule us, and we know the Obama regime holds us in abject contempt. But we really need to cut them a little slack, because it's been a shocking few weeks to the mainstream media and the liberals in this country. We have 3 announced Republican candidates for president. And so far, we have 3 so far. And each of these candidates capitalized on our movement and our energy and our values. And their love of freedom and their shared values with us got them elected to the United States Senate. And now they're continuing to champion our values and our love of freedom as they enter the presidential field for 2016. That's good for our cause. We need candidates who are going to talk about our freedom and the importance of it. And we've got several who are going to be doing that in the next year. And really, how awesome is that? Think about it and let it sink in for just a minute. In 2008, as Americans, we nominated a liberal and a mushy moderate for president. Then we did it again in 2012. In the Republican establishment, they ran away from us. Even though we helped, or our values helped them get elected in 2010 to get a majority. But in 2016, the first 3 candidates to announce on the Republican side all embrace our values. wild ride would take us. It really has been a wild ride and a fun one. And we're certainly a long way from done. It's been the honor of my life to work with the grassroots activists around the country, just like you. Year after year, I've met thousands of Americans who promote our values and promote our love of freedom. They champion personal freedom, economic freedom, and a debt-free future. They and you are hardworking Americans who love our country, who pay your taxes, and just want the government to leave us alone. Cast as radicals by the liberal media you fight on, mocked by Democrats and the Republican establishment, you redouble your efforts. You walk neighborhoods at election time, you lobby your state capital, which you're going to do again on April 29th for photo ID at polling places. You melt the phone lines in D.C. regularly. You spread the word and organize for rallies just like this one tonight. You are the heart and soul of the Tea Party movement. And without you, there is no movement. From the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of the Tea Party Patriots, thank you so much for all you do for our country and for our freedom. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.